Board meeting Thursday, February 17th. Please rise and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Supervisor Roy, there is no button to push.
You can press in there. Dad, put your finger in there.
I had my glass today.
It had a button.
Yeah. Ta-da!
Excellent.
Emergency exits are to my right behind the town clerk and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Supervisor Cody?
Here.
Councilpersons Doyle? Here. Blackman?
Here.
Redler?
Here.
And let the record reflect that Councilman Gutierrez will be absent this evening.
At this time, I would like to introduce BQ Energy, who is going to give us a presentation on our landfill solar.
Sure, that's right, and I can advance when you nod.
Okay, my name is Paul Curran. I'm the managing director of BQ Energy. Abigail Kaufman, my colleague, is here with me. BQ Energy is a renewable energy development company. We've been around since 2002. We're based in Wappingers Falls on the other side of the county. I live in the town of Beekman. The subject we're going to talk about tonight is developing solar on the landfill, which is just south on Route 22. This is a type of project that is the only thing that BQ Energy does. We go around the country looking for landfills and brownfield sites to redevelop with solar energy now mostly. We've done some wind farms historically. We've driven by this a million times as it was over the past 20 years, but we recently got into a conversation about it. We visited the site a couple months ago, and we've made a proposal to option the real estate on top of the landfill. So I'm going to walk through a little bit of the idea, and then we can have some discussion or questions. So who we are, as I mentioned, BQ Energy. We're based in Wappingers, founded 20 years ago. We are a relatively small firm, 15 people, scattered throughout, we started working remotely even before COVID. We have several hundred megawatts of projects done and several hundred that are in development, large and small. This is a relatively small size project. If you want to see one of these that we've done, there's one in Beacon, right on the Hudson. It's very pretty. You'll see a picture. Or you can shoot down 22 to Patterson, which is just across the line into Putnam County. We've got one over in Esopus. We'll be building one next year in the town of Milan. And I'll be there Monday night talking to their town board. So we do a lot of this, and we're very comfortable with it. It involves designing solar plants. It involves doing a lot of work with electrical engineering, and it involves working a great deal with the DEC to make sure that all of the codes are met and everything is done according to proper regulations. The next one, Vicki, is just take some examples of what we do. And you can see just kind of pictures of what it looks like. We follow the contours of the real estate. We're looking to basically make sure that we have a relatively level site, so we can't build everywhere. We don't like trees that are going to shade us. We have to tie into power lines. So there's several different design factors that we're going to go through in the process. Here's 3 or 4 projects, as I mentioned. The Annapolis one is the largest existing solar project on a landfill in the country. That will be eclipsed in the next year or two. We've got one in Columbus, Ohio, and one in Houston, Texas, that'll be significantly larger than that. The one in Beacon, as I say, has been operating for 3 or 4 years now. In Dutchess County. Mount Kisco, we included, it's a relatively small project. It has battery storage, which is now a newer thing to make sure that it's more grid compatible and the energy is available when it's needed. What we do is basically, hopefully, everything. Next one, thank you. And what we do is basically we're responsible for doing everything. The town is not responsible for doing anything other than signing a lease option with us. And certainly there will be applications for interconnection since it's your real estate that you'd have to sign. You should not have financial commitments on this. other than your own support people. So the town attorney might be reviewing contracts. Other costs like that might be coming up. The town engineer would be coming out from time to time to issue a certificate of occupancy. Other than that, there are no capital expenditures. There's no site improvements that are expected. It is going to be our property, our investment, our property as in the facilities that we're going to put on top of it. The land will always stay with the town. We will take over the maintenance of the grass. I understand that's a bit of an unusual thing here in the fact that the town of Sharon is actually paying for that right now. I'm sure we can figure out a way to make that done right and so forth. But typically, you don't want to mow around, solar panels, and we don't really want you to learn how to mow around solar panels. So it's something that we take over. We fund all of the maintenance on the solar panels themselves. It's not unusual, since we're in an old school building, that schools and other people would like to take trips there, or would like to see the output real time. We do that routinely. We can see how much power we're producing at any given moment. It's dark out, so we're not producing any right now. But one of the customers for one of our earlier projects down in Patterson is Trinity Pauling High School. And they've got a big screen TV set up just like this one that shows how much power we're making at any given moment. So it's we frankly like bragging about what we do, and we like to make it available to the education system as well. Next one, please, Vicki. This is kind of just how the way we talk, phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Phase 1 is where we are now. We're thinking about this. What the next phase is, we'll get into applying for permits, we'll define stuff, we'll go into a lot of engineering studies. We'll put together the money when we get into phase 3. We'll start building it in phase 4, and phase 5 is when it's operating. These things will operate for a long time. We'll be looking for a long-term lease, think 35 years or longer. The first solar panels ever made were made in the 1950s. Those solar panels are still operating today on the roof of the Boston Museum of Science. Nobody knows how long solar panels last, but it's a long, long time. Tomorrow's my birthday, so I'll be dead before this is done. But it's a long, long time. The landfill reuse, first off, let me be really, really clear. This is a good idea. It's not just because we're involved in it and so forth. There are no hidden, oh my gosh, the landfill was deteriorated, the landfill was a problem and so forth. I go to conferences routinely with the EPA and the state DEC and others. I've asked a million times, okay, has there been a project like this done anywhere in the country that you know of that turned out badly? That somebody did something wrong and so forth, and I've never heard of one. We're going to build on top of the landfill, we're not going to dig in it. We're not going to disturb what's there now, so we're going to put blocks, think of them like concrete barriers on a highway. We're going to put blocks on top of the landfill, and we're going to build up. So we're not going to dig into what's there right now, and that's very important. Then we're going to tie into a power line that's already in existence. That's going to be tricky on this project. That's going to take us a little bit of time to define. But the actual impact to the landfill is going to be negligible. The grass that's there now will be disturbed during construction. We'll be required to replant, of course, and get it going. The grass is not just there for, because it looks nice, it's there for erosion control in landfill. So we have to make sure that we maintain that or replace it after construction and make sure that it's fully seeded as we go through. Project location, the next one, Vicki, if you don't mind. So this is just a picture of your landfill. It's a modest-sized landfill. It's just fine, nothing bad about it. We can't build on steep sloped areas, so that there's some areas when we look at it that we'll be avoiding. So we'll go through and make sure that we kind of get relatively flat areas. Those trees to the south are not our friend, because they're going to shield the sunshine. So we're going to be kind of encroaching into that area at our cost, of course, to basically take down trees that might shade us. And we'll do analyses to look of, where is it that we can see clear sunshine and get the maximum production for the facility as we go through the year. On this site, as you can see, there's 2 parcels, tax parcels. We'll be looking to be in both of those as we go along, and the lease will cover that. We'll look to come up with a layout that will cover both of those. Fencing is something that we'll talk about. You know, the electrical code has us put a fence around some pieces of equipment. If there is restricted public access already, you have a fence across the gate, of course, we may not fence in the whole thing. If we do fence, we typically use we call it a critter-friendly fence, which is basically, it doesn't go down to the ground. It'll be 6 inches, 9 inches underneath, so that basically wildlife can continue to traverse the site and have access to it throughout the life of the time that we're there. I won't go dwelling on this, but the trickiest part of this project is power lines. It's still something I haven't fully understood, but the new housing development off to the west of here is powered by Central Hudson because it got a bigger power line. The line up 22 is from NYSEG. The Central Hudson power line is bigger, and it'd be lovely if we could tie into that. But it's confusing to me how Central Hudson got the right to put a power line into NYSEG service territory, which I'm sure required some, significant discussion between the two of them, and probably with you folks as well. But that's something
Actually,
that we'll
they
want to
did
talk
it
to
because of the project at the top of the hill.
them. Right. Confusing from a regulatory point of view.
Right.
So, the question is, can we go to Central Hudson? Do we have the option? Can we go to Central Hudson and go that way or this way? I live kind of right on the border of the town of Beekman and the town of Unionville. Unionville is Central Hudson. Beekman is the town Beekman is the town, yeah. Beekman is NYSEG. So it's a similar situation, and there is a solar project kind of right on the border there. Betsy Moss used to call me all the time asking about it, and there again, the utilities basically dictated which one you could tie into. So we'll have to have some discussion about that, and that'll take some time to sort through as we get into the development of the project. Obviously, it's at our risk. We would do that after we had a site option agreement with you, and we would go from there. The next one gives a little bit of what we would do and how we would do it. So you can see those blue bars on there are simply where we're imagining the panels to be. The panels, as I say, will be sitting on blocks above ground. We're imagining what's called a tracking system, so you can see the panels are kind of in a north-south orientation. In the morning they're going to face east, in the afternoon they're going to face west, and that's going to be through the day. Every day they'll do that. We're imagining that we would get in just under 2 megawatts, which probably doesn't mean much to you, but of DC power, which will be selling 1.375 megawatts of AC power. If I'm really good in a couple of minutes, I'll think of how many homes that is, but it's we'll figure that out for you if you need to translate it. These are not large numbers, but they're significant numbers. As I said, the facility we did in Mount Kisco was about half that size. So it's a nice size facility as we go along. What's it for you? Obviously, it's nice to have a green facility, but it's even nicer to get paid for it. So we would lease real estate from you, and that is the concept here. We would basically, you're our landlord. There'll be a lease document that your legal staff would look at. Initially, it'd be an option that would extend and allow us to do all the development work to the extent that all the development work is done successfully, that we can find a way to plug in, that we get all the permits, that we do all that kind of thing. Then we would be doing this. The annual lease rate would be an unusual number of $13,693 per megawatt AC. So the more power we can put on there, the better for you, the better for us, because we can sell that power. So the total lease payments on a 30-year lease would be $650,000. As I say, there are very few hidden tricks about this. This is literally getting $650,000 over the course of the contract for the surface of the dump. And so it's, there's not something that you're giving up that you're looking for and so forth. We don't have, we don't have students. This isn't a housing development. We don't have emergency services and so forth. It is a relatively benign kind of use of the land. Lease revenue, just that's restating the numbers, if you will, and you can go through that. Risk mitigation, as I say, we will have most of this has to do with Central Hudson. Right now, we are a little worried about the line that's coming up 22 being able to carry the power out, because it's not a big line. That's why Central Hudson came into the neighboring development. So that's something we'll have to work through. Central Hudson, again, their regulatory ability to take power out is something we have to work through. So that's a major risk from our point of view, and to the extent but it's a risk on us. We pay you an option fee, we go to work, we try to convince and try to do all the technical studies to get it
A
done.
larger substation was just permitted by the planning board within the last 6 months or so. Are you aware of that? I mean, that's on 22, but I don't know what it connects to, so that might be worth investigating.
I'd love to learn more about it, and that's one of those things that we will be doing. It's a NYSEG substation, do you think?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
They just expanded it.
Great. So what we will certainly be doing is talking to NYSEG to understand that. As I say, the wires themselves that go up and down 22, you're the end of the road from the utility point of view. So it is something that we'll want to understand better. Without your permission, we really can't get much of an audience with NYSEG or with Central Hudson until we have some site rights. So they'll want us to take that step first. We will, the sequence, as we said in that phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is we sign an agreement with you that gives us a site option. We pay you something for that. We then go to work on several things at once. We'll do a quick layout. We'll come back and tell you anything you want to know routinely. As I say, we're going over to the town of Milan Monday night. We've been talking to them for 2 or 3 years. It's when there's an issue, when folks are, concerned about development and so forth, we're, as you can tell, we enjoy talking about what we do. So it's something that we routinely will come back when people request us to do so. The next one's probably pretty easy stuff. It just says all the good things you're going to get, which is, it's a nice project. It's a nice use of that land. It's clean energy. It makes things a little bit more robust, and certainly it meets a lot of goals that people have set for the state and for the region. And then questions, I'll bet. And before I do questions, somewhere recently, we sent over an option to lease real property, and that's been provided to the town. It is a standard document that we've used before, to the extent that there's some discussion that has to be had about that. We find it's typically a 3-year option period, and that's required by the utilities to know that we're going to have, you're working with us, and that they're not going to get 10 different applications for these types of things and so forth, which was a problem in the state a while back. So I'm going to shut up. Are there questions that I can address that might be?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
We currently are required to do quarterly testing and annual testing there.
Yep.
We have monitoring wells.
Yep.
Would you work with that company?
Yep.
Who has to come in and actually do that for us?
We do that a lot. So they will continue to do that. You will be still required to do that by DEC eventually.
Yes, for quite a few years,
Yep.
like 30 maybe.
And as I say, every landfill we do has a similar story. Beacon, Milan, wherever. So what we say is the town continues to do what you do. We have to give you access, of course. You'll have the key to the site. But we can't build over the vents. We can't build over the monitoring wells. We have to give you when we construct and so forth. Obviously, we have to get a building permit from you, but the lease will say that you have the right to review and approve any kind of design to make sure that we don't build and impede your access to monitoring wells that you would have to get to.
Okay.
So those are good questions and important questions to do. And when I said before that the towns care about access, you're a bit remote. A lot of times there's a transfer station next to the old landfill, or there's a highway facility where they're putting wood chips next to the landfill. So we get a lot of things where people care a lot about how we're going to continue to give them access for what they need. The other one that we'll need is, it wouldn't be shocking to me that we need to traverse even some areas that we're not building on, but we have to move the power line to a certain area to tie in with the utility. So those are the types of questions that will be coming up, and you need access and you need approval over our design as we go through. So
you'll actually work with the company that we have who does the testing?
Sure. I'm not sure who does it, but
they're named PVE. They're from Poughkeepsie.
Oh, sure. Okay. We're familiar with them. I don't know that we've done a landfill where they were involved before, but we'd be happy to work with them. As I mentioned, I think when we're out at the site, the Crawford Engineering does most of our design work in the solar side. And I said they've been working with the town on other matters as well, so we're
Yeah, they've been working with us for a few years now.
good. Yeah, they've been working with us about 5 or 6 actually. It's worked well.
I've got a few questions.
Yes,
The first is I've been reading about solar a little bit of late, and I see community solar referred to frequently, which I think this is not. So in other words, this project doesn't impact or doesn't power local homes directly. It just puts power into the grid. So it doesn't actually change the, it isn't providing green energy directly to the town, it's just providing it to the system. Is that right?
Yeah, and community solar is a good thing, and we sell to some community solar providers. There are communities, I think Beacon is one, and some others that have basically said the choice. So you're going to get your power from a green source unless you opt out. Right now, you're going to get your power from NYSEG unless you opt out. So that's a thing. The people that provide power under those arrangements often contract with people like us who are generators. So there's no such thing, well, other than people who put panels on your home, which is a good thing. There's no such thing as a solar field which sells power physically to residences or town halls or anything like that. All of us sell into the grid. The grid is managed by the utilities, and they're making sure that every single second of the day that there's power being provided to power whatever people are going to use and so forth. So physically, everyone does what we're going to do here, which is we're going to put power into the wires that exist. Commercially, we would be selling credits to anybody here that wanted them, under an arrangement, or we could sell it through a community choice aggregation system, which may be what you're reading about, which would allow the town of Amenia to say, we want more renewable energy. That's a separate decision, unrelated to this one.
Okay. The picture on the front of the handout.
Yeah.
I think
Mount
we're
Kisco.
all, pretty proud about having this. This will be really exciting, but I'm assuming that equipment doesn't have to be right along Route 22?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
This actually isn't even on a highway. That's their town transfer station.
Okay.
So that happens to be Mount Kisco. And the white things on the left there, behind the bollard, that's the first commercial-sized battery system that was put into Con Edison. It's actually kind of a neat thing. It's mostly needed during June, July, and August when it's really hot, and that's when they're trying to get power for air conditioners and all that kind of stuff. So those batteries are used through the year, but they're mostly there for just 3 months of the year.
Okay. And the last thing is that you talked about the panels being erected on a framework on blocks.
Yeah.
Is that is that attached to the soil or at all? Because we've had a couple of tornadoes in the last
we
year
have.
here, which is pretty unusual.
That is unusual.
But since we've been having those, I guess I just wanted to point that out in terms of the security of the panels.
We've been surprised, I'll be blunt. We have to design to a certain wind standard as per ASTM standards, so let's start there. I think it's 95 miles an hour, but I wouldn't swear to it. If you have really good eyes, and you look really, really closely at the solar panels and look at the bottom of them, there's a black thing at the bottom which is about the size of a little kid's swimming pool. And what we do there is we put out these little kid swimming pools, for lack of a better word, and then fill it up with concrete.
Okay.
So it's literally sitting on the top of the surface. The little kid swimming pool is largely open on the bottom.
Okay.
So the concrete, it's making a form basically, and so the concrete will kind of go into the contours of the ground, so that it's far less it's not going to slide as much, a better coefficient of friction, and so it'll sit there for the amount of time. The amount of concrete we have to use is what's resisting your tornadoes or hurricanes or gale force winds, et cetera, so that it's important. The foundation is kind of a different thing than engineers typically think of. Usually foundations are to make sure that the things are held up.
Right.
You know, solar panels make a wonderful
Right,
airfoil.
just preventing uplift.
You got it. And so the amount of concrete is really governed by resisting upward forces. So we do a lot of work on that. That's the type of thing that Crawford engineers and others will be doing to make sure we do it. Long Island, after Superstorm Sandy, came out with some really, really rigorous standards. We built a project down in Kings Park down there, and we were sort of, you know, shocked at how much concrete they needed us to put in and so forth. But you know, we meet local code, and we're, you know, to the extent that the town has a more rigorous code, we'll talk about that as well.
Okay, great. And the time from, I guess, acceptance to operation, it sounded like is about 3 years?
Yeah, it tends to vary. You know, supply chain stuff is slowing us down right now, like everybody else. The utilities take time to sort out, you know, to do their studies.
Yeah.
Better part of a year just to do that. The DEC is usually pretty good now. We've done enough with them that they're okay. But really pretty good is, again, the better part of a year for us to develop the applications, to go back through the applications. Fortunately, I mean, your landfill hasn't been closed that long compared to most, so that the records are going to be good. And, you know, that'll make it much simpler. You know, and it's been monitored, as the supervisor said. You've been doing all those reports quite frequently now because you're a newer landfill, and because you've been doing that, the DEC will be very familiar with the records, and there won't be anything that they're looking to have fixed. We get a lot of that, frankly, where we go out and want to do something, and well, there's 8 vents out there that were broken by kids riding on ATV vehicles, and can you fix those before you build a solar project? And so that's not unusual.
Okay.
But I expect DEC will find this to be, you know.
Yeah, our vents are all in good shape and working. The one we had to replace a tree fell on, but that's, you know, we did replace it.
Sure, yeah. Landfill looked like it was all maintained. I mean, you know, I've seen, you know, if we had a lot more time, I'd tell you a story about the one in Houston we're trying to work on, which is just an amazing story that somebody could leave a landfill not maintained at all for decades.
I have a question.
Yes,
When you said school groups would be fine, to what extent would public access be allowed? Because I believe our CAC, our Conservation Advisory Council, is interested in putting signage at some point somewhere to acknowledge the incredible transformation that this has gone from a toxic landfill to its current use today. So I can certainly see organized school group tours where it's controlled and managed, right? Mm-hmm. But is there any way that we might be able to extend that out further to open it to the public? Or do you not want people walking in and amongst solar panels?
I don't want people walking in and amongst it if we don't know about it.
You have to know about it in advance.
Well,
You
they
know-
shouldn't be there anyway. I don't think it's a good place for any
It's not a
group to
good
be
place.
going.
We've had vandalism on some of our facilities, as you can imagine.
Okay.
We've had, you know, other things, and it is a, you know, it's equipment that was just generating electricity. It's a safe facility, but it's not a public access one. We can put up kiosks.
So, yeah, I was
at a place,
imagining-
maybe, you know, in the village or wherever, but I don't think that. doing-
Even that pull-in place where we all kind of parked,
I think that'd be fine. It's not.
some kind of little informational in case somebody wanted to pull off, and maybe
If-
even a charging station for a car so that,
Yeah, park.
you know, somebody could read. But if they can't actually walk the park, it may be kind of
Yeah, it's
silly to
probably-
encourage them.
We've talked and we've done that routinely, but usually not at the space. The Beacon facility is right at Dennings Point Park, and it makes sense. You can put up a sign there and people can see it and look at it, and it's great. You know, yours is not really public access kind of place, but I think putting up a kiosk or an information TV of some sort somewhere else is something we'd be happy to talk about and figure out what's the best way.
Well, outside where the gate is, probably.
Outside where?
Outside where the gate is.
Yeah, maybe. You know,
Because we could even, you know, because we had talked about at one time putting, you know, like informational signs there about, you know, what kind of plants were there and what kind of wildlife is there.
Yep.
you know, we can do that without actually allowing groups in there.
Yeah. I like the ideas, and I'm sure we can come up with something, but having people walk through on their own, not the
Doesn't
right
work.
idea. Yeah.
And what about working directly with our planning board? I know we can exempt ourselves from the site plan requirements and such. However, do you typically get involved with, or would the town be the lead for a site plan that would, you know, include whatever screening the planning board
Sure.
recommended?
So, we never volunteer to have to get a permit that we're not required to get.
Okay.
However, it's not unusual that we will go in and have an information session with the CAC, the planning board, and so forth, just so that they can review the plans and make recommendations that are appropriate, and so forth. You know, the town, again, is probably exempt from their own, you know, that kind of thing. We certainly don't want to undo that, but to the extent that, you know, we have a public meeting, you know, we're happy to do those, and for information purposes, and public recommendations that are easier, you know, just as easy, and, you know, we don't care that the gap underneath the fence is 10 inches versus 14 inches. You know, those are just good inputs. And frankly, you know, over on that site where there's different view sheds coming down the hill and some sensitive view sheds from the people building new homes, it's just good business and good neighbors to kind of allow people to have input. Some things are impossible, like public tours, but we're usually, you know, we're open to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I would hate to find out later that people expected a certain thing. So I think some kind of public outreach would be better than finding out later.
We agree with that. And
Yeah.
as I said, you know, if you invite us here, we'll talk about what we do for hours and hours and hours. And, you know, none of you really want to hear all that tonight. So, but we'd be happy to do it at the right time.
I would like to segue off of Councilman Doyle's comments, and I do have a question afterwards.
Sure.
So first of all, looking at your website,
Yeah.
I think that there could be an educational component added to your website
Oh,
for this site or any of the sites for that matter. You could drive up, there could be a kiosk, there could be a QR code, you
Yeah.
can go there and read all about it.
yeah.
Very simple, very cost-worthy. And my question regarding the annual lease escalator, what is that based on?
It's usually just a fixed number.
It's what?
It's usually just a fixed number. So
Okay.
the escalator itself,
Yeah, so
we could make it 0 if you prefer, or we could make it a...
is it based on what the cost of doing business is? Is it based on what your cost of profit is? What is it based on?
We are trying to estimate what the project will cost. We are trying to estimate what the project revenues will be, and we back into what can the project afford to pay for real estate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's...
I have another question about the actual lease that you provided us with.
Yep.
On page 2, I just want to make sure I completely understand that there is no obligation for the town to ultimately execute an agreement. This is an option for you to do the studies that you need to find out whether or not this is a suitable location.
I believe that's incorrect.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
this is an option for us to lease real estate. We would go into, if we successfully do all that, and we spend all the money to do all the development work, we would call you up and say, okay, we want to do a lease now, and you are obligated in good faith to do a lease.
I see. So by signing this, it shows our intention to move forward with the ultimate lease if you find it is technically feasible.
Yes,
So this is not this is an optional lease, this is not the lease going forward.
that's correct.
Right.
And it's $10,000 a year, no matter what happens in the end. It's just a $10,000 a year for 3 years until we decide how we're moving forward, if we're moving forward. Is that correct?
Correct, and the "we" was the only thing that, it's not the town's decision, it's our decision, should we decide to do it.
So we will have made that decision that this is in fact what we want to do,
That's correct.
if it's feasible on your end.
That's correct.
Okay, now I've got it.
Yep.
And $10,000 a year, even if you decide at some point that it's not feasible, that's still ours.
You bet.
Okay.
Michael Peak, I assume that the Conservation Advisory Committee is fully behind this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we think it's a great idea, it's a great reuse of that
Oh,
space.
no.
sorry, Michael, can you go to the
Oh,
microphone?
Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
Or the empty one? There it is.
Sure, on behalf of the CAC, and we just met and talked about this last night, we talked about it at the previous meeting as well. Yeah, we're definitely in favor of this, we're highly supportive of the project. You know, if there are details and things that need to be worked out, sure. But absolutely, I mean, the transformation of this space, you know, from basically a toxic waste dump and Superfund site to a reclaimed natural landscape and a generator of clean, renewable energy, I mean, that's a great story to tell, so absolutely. And I think I had a few questions as well, and I would just say that, you know, as long as there's an ongoing dialogue to make sure everybody's on the same page, yeah, I would definitely hope that the town would choose to move forward.
Are those your glasses? No? Okay. Somebody left reading glasses. You can?
Oh, they're there for anybody who needs them.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
What a nice service.
It is. I will also just mention that the landfill has cost the town of Amenia a great deal, and we're still paying it off. So any income to offset the ongoing cost of the ultimate reclamation, I think would be a big win for the town.
You know, it's a strange thing. I mentioned probably when we were out there, I was a deputy supervisor once in my town. But well, the first one of these we did in the town of Patterson in this area, we were a bit surprised, but the lease we paid them was fine. It was good revenue and so forth. The maintenance of mowing the lawn and all that kind of stuff on the landfill was actually the bigger savings for the town. And so I know that you have a unique relationship with the town of Sharon. That's something we'll want to talk about quite a bit to make sure that, you know, the town of Amenia can get, you know, fair value and you're not just saving money for Sharon.
Right. Right. It is their portion of their
Right.
responsibility for the cleanup, so
Right.
it has a monetary value.
And as I
Yeah,
say,
it's part of the
different.
consent order.
Sure, it has to be done without question, but it's, as we're contracting with you, it's just something that you'll want to be conscious of, and we'll have to figure out how to make sure that value is captured appropriately.
They also pay for the quarterly testing and monitoring the wells.
And that won't change.
No.
So you'll have, well, when I say who pays for it is your business, but those frequencies of testing and so forth with DEC, whether you have a solar project on there or not, won't be any different.
Okay.
And the probably the most important thing is that the solar panel has no impact on the leachate or the landfill or anything else. That's been tested routinely. We did, kind of oddly, the first time we did one of these up in Massachusetts, they made us hire the University of Massachusetts to see if the grass would still grow after we put these solar panels on. There was no sunlight. What's going to happen? And it turns out, I probably could have told them this, but grass grows better in the shade. So that the grass actually under the panels was growing better than the grass in the open field, just because it's cooler in July and August and all that kind of stuff.
So our next step, I assume, would be making a decision as a board to move ahead, right? I mean, we probably
Right.
will talk about that. Okay.
And Ian is looking at the lease agreement.
I just had one quick question.
Microphone?
I was just presented with this, so I haven't had time, opportunity really to look at it or anything, but what happens at the end of the term?
Of that lease option?
Yeah, what happens with all the equipment? Do you guys move it all
Oh,
out? What
okay.
happens if there's some sort of,
Sure.
you know, if, my job is, if it goes wrong?
Oh, no, it's a good.
What's
So,
the,
at the end, it's not the end of that document, it's the end of the next document, the lease itself, that
Yeah.
it's a great question. So as I say, these things seem to last forever, but forever is not forever. It's very common that we will enter into part of the lease. We'll say that somewhere down the road, we typically pick 5 years before the end of the term of the lease. We either have to say we're going to extend it, or we have to post a bond to remove it. Solar panels can be recycled. They're largely glass and metal and that kind of things. But there is a cost of taking it down and taking it away. So it's not unusual that we have to post a bond, like I say, somewhere within 5 years of the end of the lease to remove it. We will still be generating revenue at that point, so it is something that you can point to and put a lien on and those types of things.
What would insulate the town if say you went bankrupt or the project midstream and we have half of it built? What would insulate the town?
Okay.
Would there be a bond or something
During
that
construction?
instance? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty typical thing. What you don't want, and it's a great point, is you don't want somebody to build half a solar farm
No.
and then go bankrupt in the middle of construction. That'd be a mess. Once it's up and operating, if we went bankrupt 10 years from now, it's a revenue generating facility. Solar farms are pretty low maintenance once they're up. So obviously you'd have to be able to put a lien on the solar farm that's operating and so forth. As the gentleman who looked at our website can see, we have a lot of projects around the country. But I don't know why people go bankrupt, but they do. And so it's something important for you to protect yourself against. We actually went through, it's an unusual story, but there's a whole section on what happens if we go bankrupt. We had our first lease where somebody went bankrupt. It was a multinational coal company that was our landlord, and they went bankrupt. And frankly, we didn't address it very well of the landlord going bankrupt, but we have a big section in our leases that address the subject. It's important. And certainly, if you go through it, and I understand you've just gotten it,
Yeah.
if you have questions and you want to call us, we can talk it through.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a card you could give to Ian? Okay, I don't have a supervisor's report tonight, but what I would like to know from the board, that we need to have a special meeting to interview some building inspector candidates. So I wondered who would, if anybody would be, or if you would be available the end of next week.
Sure.
What are you thinking, Thursday?
Yeah, 25th.
A little lecture, which I could skip, that's fine, yes.
Either Thursday or Friday, Wednesday, whatever works best for everyone.
Thank you very much.
So the 20th,
Thursday's fine. I mean,
Thursday, Duchess, we have something at 7, Leo and I. But we can do, I could do Wednesday, for instance, or Friday.
Either
No, I
Wednes-
don't want to do Friday.
Wednesday, will that work?
Wednesday would work.
Would that work for you,
could do Wednesday.
Brad?
The 23rd?
The
Oh.
23rd.
Wednesday, what time works for you? You're working around
5:30 or 6.
6:30?
Yeah, 6:30 would be great.
6:30?
Yes.
I'd vote for 6, but okay.
Well, 6 is fine. Well, 6.
Vicki, is that?
Is
Yeah,
that too-
6 will work. Yeah.
Okay, so 6 o'clock on
Great.
Wednesday, the 24th,
Okay.
for a special meeting. That'll be executive session. Okay, thank you. Town clerk report?
Good evening. I present this evening the monthly share for the month of January 2022 The total was $1,837, with the local share being remitted to the supervisor in the amount of $1,816. Circulated prior to the meeting was the February 3rd minutes. Does somebody have the opportunity to review?
Sorry, it took me a moment. But I did, yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept?
I'd make that motion.
Second?
Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes?
Brewer?
Yes.
Also this evening, I'm seeking authorization to go ahead and advertise for the upcoming summer camp program positions. There's, usually for the newcomers, we usually have to advertise for our camp director, there's the lifeguard position, there's the camp counselors, the EMT, everybody that they're going to need. So I'd go ahead and seek that authorization to advertise.
And I make a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise for the summer camp positions.
And I'll second.
Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Brewer?
Yes.
Also sharing with the board and the public, today our tax collection is $2,977,952.05, with the remaining uncollected $4,158,032.13. Just as a fun fact, as always I love to give fun facts, but 76 folks have elected to pay online. So I really hope everyone's enjoying the online payment option, because you can pay by check and or credit card. It just kind of helps hold parties.
Dawn, what's
Yeah.
included in that tax? That's just the town tax?
Oh no, I collect for all the special districts and the county. I
Oh.
collect over 6.5 million.
Oh, you do? Okay, all right, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah, so what I do is, and you're going to hear a little bit of it tonight, not to jump ahead, but it is my next.
Okay, I can wait
our
for that.
vouchers. So what happens is all of our special districts that are here right within town, I take them off first, make the town whole, so you guys only get like 2.3% or 2.3 of that. Then the remaining shares that go out to the county. So I satisfy the town first, and then every week I have to pay off the county until we end it on May 31st. So you're
Very
going to be
wise.
saying these numbers out loud, so I can put it in the minutes, so it matches my checkbook.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you. So with that being said, I'm
Yes.
presenting and seeking authorization for the supervisor to pay the claims on the abstract that is presented before each of you. And they are for the funds as follows. General Fund A, $171,349.35. Highway Fund, $24,571.41. Amenia Lighting, $982. Safe Lighting, $351.27. Amenia Water, $9,542.86. Amenia Fire, $892,355. Safe Fire, $446,950. Amenia Library, $175,000. So this month's abstract and total payment of claims, inclusive of our prepays, is $1,721,101.89.
And Dawn Marie, the third column is obviously a total from the
Those are
horizontals.
the totals.
But the prepaid in the February 22nd, is that where things are? Yeah, go- you
Yes.
tell me.
So what happens is we have our prepays. So as part of your reorganizational meeting,
Sure. Got a problem here.
absolutely.
Try using that, you're not coming through at all.
Okay. So what happens is there's the prepaids. So as part of your reorganizational meeting, you went ahead and authorized
Oh,
the
okay.
bookkeeper to go ahead and pay claims, your utilities, your payroll. There's some various bills that she pays without having to get the pre-approvals in your vouchers.
Okay.
And then there's the column that shows the February 2022. So you can see she paid almost 1.6 million out, and then there's only the 121,000 for our claims. So if you're looking at your voucher packets that get presented, as you come in and you sign those, you're signing them, and they're broken down not only by the special districts, but prepaid versus not.
Good, because I didn't understand. Yeah.
No, that's okay,
That
and
wasn't
all I
clear.
do is I read out to the public the total numbers
Got it.
of the
Thank you.
claims. No problem. So I'm seeking authorization for the supervisor to pay those claims as they've been presented this evening.
I'll make that motion.
Doyle,
I will second it.
Brad, Supervisor Perotti,
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle,
Yes.
Blackman,
Yes?
Rebillard.
Yes.
Okay. Also in our packets this evening, you're going to find that the balance sheets and the operating statement were provided by the bookkeeper. So they're in there. And I'm going to go ahead and just attack some of those reports that we have in our packet. We have the water report submitted from Marco D'Antonio, which go ahead and itemizes out the water usage, the customer calls, the water line markout digs, the emergency response he responded to, and any other items he completed during the month of January. Also in our packets is our highway report from Highway Superintendent Megan Chamberlain. She says that all is going well in the highway department with the warmer temperatures. The dirt roads have started to soft and rut up. We have graded them off and put them some stone down to help. Next week's temperatures are warmer, so that they're going to be working against them. They've completed and submitted the paperwork for Hurricane Ida to FEMA for reimbursement for Tower Hill Road. This week, they received reimbursement for Deep Hollow for the bank stabilization project in the amount of $74,867.63. They'd also like to she would also like to thank Leo Blackman for coming down and meeting with myself and the crew and taking a tour of the highway garage.
I
Thank
even brought
you.
them donuts.
Oh, did you? Wow,
I
that's nice. And later part of today, we did receive a report from Kelly Milano that they were not able to have, and this is, Kelly is on our recreation, she's our rec person. They were not able to have an official meeting last week. Baseball signups will be out in the next week or so. John Lamb is doing his pitching clinic right now on Mondays and Wednesdays. Both clinics are full right now, which is great news. The Easter egg hunt information will be coming out soon. Be on the lookout. Cheer is done for the year. They did well, and they look forward to next season. It will start back up in September, and we encourage people to come to our next rec meeting, which will be held on March 10th at 7 p.m., and that was respectfully submitted by Kelly Milano. And for announcements and activities that are going on here at Town Hall, in addition to the rec activities, I give that friendly and final reminder that our blood drive will be held here next Wednesday. As you guys are having your meeting, come in a little early or plan on staying a little late. You can donate some blood right here in our very own gymnasium. It's for a great cause. And that, for all those that want us to come in, and it's going to be held Wednesday, the 23rd, from 3 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. If you want to call ahead, you may do so by calling us here at the Town Hall at area code 845-373-8860, extension 125, or you can contact the New York Blood Center directly. I do know that they are calling all of the prior donors, so you can get a preferred time. And that's all I have for this evening, and all the reports that were circulated prior to the meeting.
Hey, Vicki, you had a report?
I do. I was going to read Michael Peak's summary of the CAC meeting last night via Zoom. It was well attended. It was submitted by Michael Peak. Unfortunately, he left, but so I'll go ahead and read it. We began with BQ Energy's proposal to develop a solar field on the site of the old Amenia landfill. We're very supportive of this project, and we're happy to have folks from BQ Energy here tonight. This project has the potential to complete the transformation of this site from a toxic waste dump and Superfund site to a reclaimed natural landscape and source of renewable green energy. Importantly, this project will also produce a regular ongoing revenue stream for the town. There's also a great story to be told here, and we're currently pulling together information to help tell that story. We also reviewed progress on our clean energy and climate smart community initiatives. Our primary clean energy goal is to complete 4 high-impact actions and secure a $5,000 grant. We've completed and gathered documentation on 3 of the 4 actions now, so we're well on our way. On the climate smart front, we're working with the HVA to wrap up a couple of projects that have been ongoing for some time. We understand they'll be presenting at the March 3rd Town Board meeting, so we're looking forward to that. We've started planning for our annual Earth Day cleanup event, which will be held on the morning of Saturday, April 23rd this year, so please mark your calendars. We usually get strong support from our local community, and we're hoping this year will be more of the same. Please come out and lend a hand if you can. Amenia is a beautiful place. Let's do what we can to keep it that way. Special thanks to Vicki Doyle for her hard work, dedication, and commitment to making this happen year after year. The annual CAC and EMC Roundtable is scheduled for March 31st via Zoom. This event is our opportunity to convene with CAC members from other towns, villages, and municipalities at the county-wide level to share successes, challenges, and goals for the coming year. We're currently working on our annual report to that group. Finally, we'd like to bring an important piece of New York State legislation to everyone's attention, and that is the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, Climate Act, which was signed into law in 2019 as one of the most ambitious climate laws in the world. The law created the Climate Action Council, the council, which is tasked with developing a draft scoping plan that serves as an initial framework for how the state will reduce greenhouse gas emissions and achieve net zero emissions, increase renewable energy usage, and ensure climate justice. On December 20th, the council voted to release the draft scoping plan for public comment. January 1, 2022 marks the beginning of a 120-day public comment period to receive feedback from the public as the council works to develop and release a final scoping plan by the end of the year of 2022. If you're interested, you can find more information online, long form or short form. Just Google New York State Climate Act. And if you have any feedback for the council, now is the time. The public comment period runs through the end of April. Thank you.
I can do a quick one for wastewater and the housing board.
Yeah, please do.
I spoke to Jim earlier today, Jim Wright from wastewater. He said that there seems to be like a weird overlap between wastewater, the housing board, and the town board, because wastewater is looking for property for the treatment facility, the housing board is looking at property for housing, and the town board is looking at property for wells. So he wondered if there was some way to coordinate that, because someone he spoke to had gotten 2 other calls the same week from 2 other people from the town, I mean from the committee. So I don't know if there's a way to organize that better, but it did seem like they were some property owners were getting multiple calls from, for different uses, and I don't know if there's,
I
again,
don't know
what we can do.
who was calling. Nobody was calling from the town.
Oh, really? Who would
Well, I
have called
think
with
if we coordinated through the supervisor's office,
Okay.
Then it would be clear that if we're looking for land, particularly for alternative places to put our wells on Lavelle Road, then we could coordinate that with the other projects that also are
Okay.
in need of land. I think it needs to come through a central
Great. That makes sense.
grapevine, so we're not
Okay. Yeah, and if
all competing for the
Right.
same little piece of land.
and none of those committees, I mean, the Housing Board and the Wastewater Committee are not, if you're aware of who they're speaking to or who they're planning to, who they've spoken to already, then in looking for wells, at least you know that they've been called by someone else for something else.
Right. The
Okay.
only information I sent to the engineer was the piece of land that the town owned,
Right. Okay.
that he said was not a good idea for anything.
And then he's been in contact with Ty and Bond who are trying to tie up loose ends so that they can get us a report sometime soon. And the Housing Board has been meeting almost weekly, which is kind of amazing because they know that Ashley Lee is attending our first meeting in March to present, and they wanted to make sure that they had suggestions for the town board, because in terms of just priorities from the stuff that she recommended, because she had given us sort of an idea of cost for different pieces of it, and so we wanted to they wanted to be able to describe that.
To describe what?
To describe what they thought the most efficient use of funds were based on, in other words, I'm sorry, what the most important pieces of the zoning code changes would be, so that, if there's a limited amount of money, there are some things that they thought were much more important to making affordable housing.
So they've prioritized what they
got.
Well, they need to document it. They
will.
They need to, put it in a document and send it to us.
Okay.
So we have it.
And then the one other thing that I would mention is that the Hudson River Housing and the Community Health Foundation came up with a program of mini grants for members of the Tri-Town Coalition about housing. And so the Housing Board is going to discuss, again, what their recommendations would be for that money. It sounds like Pine Plains is not going to apply, so there may be more than one grant available, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, they've been working on those two things.
See what the criteria is for the grant.
Well, they made it very simple because they've been working with the Tri-Town people, and so they wanted to be as easy for the towns to deal with, or for the committees to deal with, as possible. But okay. I'll forward you that stuff if you hadn't seen it.
Did you state the next meeting for Amenia Housing Board?
Yes, I think it's this Sunday at 10 a.m. Let me double check.
Right, February 20th.
February 20th, exactly.
By Zoom.
By Zoom, right. Thank you for reminding me of that.
And I'll mention that CAC...
I think when they are having meetings, that they should let the town clerk know, because she can put it in her calendar.
Yeah.
So if they get calls, she would be able to answer them.
They just said at the last meeting a regular meeting, which I should remember when that is, and I'll make sure that Charlie sends that to Dawn Marie for the calendar.
So if she gets any questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think they've just been trying to catch up because they were just worried that Ashley was going to be here without them having done the work that they wanted to do before she arrived. So I think they've just been.
Well, she's not going to be here to the 3rd, so.
March 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all I have for committee reports.
Does anyone else have any other committee reports?
I'll just mention again that the CAC meets on the 3rd Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, and we've been meeting by Zoom. So that is not changed from all the years I can remember.
Cool.
Meeting by Zoom is the only change, right?
That's right, yeah. But the date and the time, you just have to find out.
Not going to be Zoom forever.
So we hope.
But this is the day that they usually meet. Okay.
Where
Make sure everybody is
Zoom
clear.
links, out of curiosity.
What?
I'm not looking to start a long discussion, but where are these Zoom links available for the committees? We are inviting our residents to attend your committees.
That's right.
Meetings, and I apologize, but if the links aren't put somewhere where folks know where they are, and we'll start with a Sunday meeting. I mean, our residents aren't familiar. I know, and I know your committee meeting. I know some of your committee members are watching.
Oh, really?
Right? I know. I've gotten some texts when they couldn't hear us clearly. So I sit here and I just want, I know how the people are watching, or when they come into the town clerk's office, and Kelly, I read her announcement, please come to the rec meeting, because they really want people to come, just like we want folks to come to our meetings. But if we don't know where these links are,
No, so, but what should be the clearinghouse? Should that get sent to you? Where does that get posted? What?
Well, just like any of our meetings, we're supposed to send that notice out, so you would be advertising that notice accordingly.
But-
So we have a town clerk bulletin board, we have an official newspaper, you can
We
share.
have a
We have a
website.
website. I mean, we should make some effort. I can't come, I don't want you to come to me in 6 months and say I don't have the minutes, because I'm going to look at you and say I don't even have the invites that they're taking place. So
Okay.
the only resolution that I have is simple. We have a new website, we have a calendar on the website. Something I suggested over a year and a half ago was you send those invites right up to Nancy or Annette, and they can put it in the calendar as part of the agenda, so you don't have to go to 15 places on a website that you're going to tell me you can't find it. You go to the calendar. If you guys can get us the Zoom link, I would love just to have it all in that one place. Because I get a lot of, I get to sit here and I am very frustrated right now because you guys have a level of expectation, but yet the information isn't coming to where it needs to be.
Yeah. No,
So, I mean, look, we have the community bulletin board, we have the town clerk's official bulletin board, we have the front door that has 1,000 posters, which I can't stand, on there. Let's let the folks out there know that we have these great committees, active committees, and that they want to be part of. How do we know that they're going on?
No, I think it'll be much easier now because we didn't have a set date, a set monthly date. It was just that with new people and everything, we were kind of making a decision, oh, well, let's meet
I just don't want to just
5 days.
half-act our open meetings law.
Absolutely.
And make it only pertain when there's an issue.
Yeah, you're right.
It should really be a standard, should be across the board for all of our committees.
Okay, great.
So, I mean, I think people want to come to these meetings and hear what's going on.
It's probably a good idea to send an email just to the committee heads, the committee chairs, just to remind them of that.
You guys are the liaisons, and you guys are attending their meetings.
Right.
So as liaisons, my expectation as the town
Is that
clerk
we're gonna tell
is
them.
that the liaisons are communicating with their boards and sharing all of this, because you guys are setting the rules,
Okay.
right? You guys set the you guys adopted committee guidelines.
True, I just didn't want to play bad cop, but if you
You
won't do it,
have
I'll have
to, you have to, because I know everybody loves you on all the committees, I get it, but sometimes you just have to say you now sit in the captain's seat. And
Okay.
they have,
So part of the issue is just that there hasn't been a very clear protocol for us to tell the chairs what their protocol is. Do they send it to you? Do they send it to they're just now getting their official committees, their official town emails. They're just now finding out when they're available to meet, trying to solidify that, and then know who they're supposed to go to. So I've heard very clearly now tonight for the first time that Nancy, let's just say Nancy is the one. I mean,
Victoria's been reading it for the last 2 years, that any announcements and updates on our website go to her office. So that hasn't changed. So I mean,
that's
she
great.
doesn't have an official written report, but we
but
can
has
go.
that gone out to the committee chairs?
It's been announced at every single one of these meetings, except for tonight when she says there's not, because she didn't have her first report. But if you were to read the supervisor's report, she makes it very clear in there, website changes go to the town supervisor's staff, and that's Annette and Nancy.
Okay, so let's
So,
hope
because
they're all
I'm
out there
just
listening in.
recommending that you guys put it on the town calendar, because then it's in one spot.
Yep.
But if we were to follow the open meetings law, and we're supposed to be announcing these meetings, if you made your first announcement saying on the second Thursday of every month, which is recreation, and we've adopted that schedule, then we would be set. Planning, zoning, and town board schedules were all approved and adopted by this board and have accepted that. So once the liaisons come back and say, hey, this is the official schedule, just like recreation does, recreation gives me the minutes and they tell me that it's going to be on this date, blah, 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 and they have it on the calendar.
Right,
So
okay.
I'm really talking about, I know the third Wednesday of every month is the CAC, right? So I've talked to the chair. He knows he's going to start getting me minutes. So these are things that are going to go on. But then when I get tied into emails about the videos and this and that, and I'm reading these and I'm like, well, I don't even have the agenda, and I didn't even have the legal notice. I didn't even know that it was taking place. I mean, you guys have to work, we have to talk about
give us an
this.
example of a legal notice so that we know what is expected of us.
The town board will be meeting on Thursday, February 17th at 7 PM.
that part of the agenda? I mean, all
Yeah,
they have
it's
to
the
do is
top
send
line
So
us
the
an
agenda
agenda.
is the legal
We've
notice?
been
Yes.
using it, and that's why if you were to
I
look
see.
at the town agenda, how they circulate everybody, including, not only us, they include the local newspaper, it covers you.
Okay.
And that's posted on the website calendar.
Yes, and that puts the agenda,
Nancy?
we put the agenda up on the Monday when we get it, simultaneously from us getting it in that email, because we all find out about what's on the agenda at the same time. They put it on the website.
Yes.
Okay, I think
And
I've
the
got it.
And
But if
we've
not, I'll
announced
call you
that.
to check.
Resolutions and all the materials should be there as well, right? On our website, so people can review them.
That's what
prior.
that's what they've been doing.
Okay, super.
You know, ever since the whole change of having to put the draft resolutions, that's what her staff does.
So the Monday before Thursday meeting, you need to give 3 or 4 days for the staff to get that up and on the website in a timely manner.
Once you would make that one announcement and you say, like, Rec was really good about it. Like, so we always knew, and I don't mean to use Rec, but Rec was always good. They give us the minutes and we know it's going to be the second Thursday of the month. You just throw out one announcement for the entire year on the second month. The only time you need to send notice to the newspaper thereafter is for the special meetings. So when she has a special meeting, we need to notify the newspaper, it goes on the website, goes on the posted on the bulletin board. So we're making everybody out there know as soon as she knows. But unless there's an emergency and it's going to go 24 hours, then everything's by email, by fax. Make the phone call, let them know. But we have ample time to know.
Okay,
But-
I mean, that's fine. It just, again, in this committee, it took a long time for them to elect a chair, and it took a very long time
And it's
to choose a
exciting to
date,
see
so-
these committees that are active as they have been. I mean, you guys know over the years they haven't been. But we need to be able to circulate that.
Okay, that's no problem.
Thank you.
Got it.
He's like, no way. I signed up for this. Yes, you did.
Resolution number?
22.
Okay, resolution 22.
Employing a municipal financial advisor for calendar year 2022. Whereas the town board seeks to employ a municipal financial advisor to provide the town with various financial advisory services set forth in the annexed financial advisory services agreement during calendar year 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that the recitations above set forth are incorporated in this resolution as it fully set forth and adopted herein. Be it further resolved that the town board hereby employs Capital Markets Investors, LLC, with offices at 11 Grace Avenue, Suite 308, Great Neck, New York, 11021, as a municipal financial advisor for the town of Amenia for calendar year 2022, for the purpose of providing the town with various financial advisory services as may be needed by the town board from time to time hereafter, in accordance with Capital Markets Advisors, LLC, proposal to the town of Amenia in substantially the same form as annexed hereto, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to execute the financial advisory services agreement. Is there a motion?
I'll move to accept that.
Is there a discussion period here?
After there's a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so question, how do we come across this particular group for the
They've been with the
services?
town probably for 10 years.
That is an excellent answer.
They
Thank you.
started out as, many years ago, as Sal Panini, and they
Yeah.
morphed into eventually Capital Market Advisors.
All right, cool,
But they're the ones that do the term sheets and whenever we have to borrow.
excellent.
Supervisor Prody?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Remillard?
Yes,
Resolution number 23.
Is this the settlement?
Resol-
This is the settlement that you're reading?
that's executive
Yes.
session.
Resolution authorizing settlement of tax certiorari proceedings commenced by Juan Torres. Whereas there is now pending in the Dutchess County Supreme Court tax certiorari proceedings commenced in 2020 and 2021 by Juan Torres regarding property located on 5209 Route 22 in the town of Amenia, tax map number 132-000-7168-00-585-340-0000, seeking a reduction and correction in the 2020 and 2021 assessments for the respective tax rolls. Whereas the town assessor and the attorney to the town recommended a settlement.
Sorry.
Is that your phone?
Yes.
Could you please turn it off?
Yes.
Thank you. Whereas the town assessor and the attorney to the town recommended a settlement on these tax review proceedings, now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. That the town board of the town of Amenia hereby approves the settlement of the tax review proceedings for the years 2020, 2021 on behalf of the town of Amenia as they pertain to the parcel identified as tax map number 132-000-7168005853400000 as follows. Year of assessment 2020, original total assessment $791,300, revised total assessment $475,000, reduction $316,300, 2021. Original total assessment $475,000, revised total assessment $475,000, reduction 0. 3, that the town supervisor, town assessor, and ENC lenders of Stanger, Diamond, and Glass LLP, attorneys to the town of Amenia, are hereby authorized to take all actions necessary and appropriate to effectuate the terms of this resolution. I make that motion. Is there a second?
Well, Lauren, I'll move because I want to talk about it. So I called about this because I was kind of confused about where this came from. I mean, just because it was just this one property, and Ian's staff and Victoria were helpful in terms of giving me some of the background. But I know I kind of got blown into office by people who were really angry, feeling like that rich people were getting a much better deal than they were, and again,
I had a question. Was the protocol require a motion and a second before discussion?
Yes.
She made the motion, I believe.
And he
Leo.
seconded it.
Oh, you did second, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yes.
I didn't hear it, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So in any event, I mean, I have met Juan, and Juan is a lovely person, and you know, and I'm sure that this was discussed at great length previously, but I'm very uncomfortable voting for this. The other unscientific piece is that this is assessed at about what my house is, but this house is 60% larger than mine, newly built, not on a road, not adjacent to Metro North, and something else. Oh, and this property is 4 times larger than mine. So in a totally unscientific way, this seems a little strange. And I'm just concerned that we're setting a precedent for, you know, everyone in Amenia feeling like their taxes should be half of what they are, and I think that's really problematic. So,
Well, this doesn't have anything to do with that, Ian. I mean, we're actually talking about assessment for 2 prior years.
It's
So,
also notable that this is a settlement of an ongoing lawsuit that has been costing the town a lot of money. So there is a proposed resolution here that we have to really talk about.
Yeah, I'm totally happy with
It's
that.
a legal issue, I'm not sure why we're not in executive session.
Well, that was my question.
Well,
I
that's-
don't understand
I thought
that.
on the agenda, I saw that as executive session.
I'm really feeling comfortable
Me as
talking
well.
about individual assessments.
Yes, because-
And legal settlements.
Exactly.
In public.
Exactly.
We
If
have to
there-
approve the settlement, we have to do it by resolution. We can't do that in executive
if there's a
session.
discussion to be had on the resolution, due to the fact that it's pending litigation, I would recommend that that discussion take place in executive session.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the motion is, the resolution for the approval has to be done in an open meeting.
Oh, yes, but I think that for us to understand this and to talk this through, so we were just given this
Yeah.
2 days ago. I have not been privy to any of these negotiations prior. So it's not like I have the background.
She's right, because this is a little premature. I think we can certainly vote on this in a town board meeting.
But
But
we don't have the background information that answers
Yeah.
our questions
Yeah.
in a confidential
and
manner.
I think that...
Okay,
there's
we can go into executive session and discuss it, but can we,
You table it for now?
well, we can't table after there's a motion and a second on the floor.
Oh,
So if you want to vote and vote no, and then we can revisit it. But we have to follow protocol.
That's a good idea. That's
That's all right.
excellent.
Okay. Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
No.
Blackman?
No.
Revillard?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Motion fails.
Resolution number 24.
Question, this motion can be come up again, right? This resolution,
Yes, again.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, okay, thank you.
You can-
We're just, we're just,
Yeah.
we did a vote, and it doesn't mean it's gone forever.
Right.
Okay.
Resolution number 24. Resolution authorizing town engineer to prepare a conceptual design and cost estimate for the Wassaic Rail Trail Lighting Project. Whereas the town of Amenia recently completed the construction of a multi-use path adjacent to New York State Route 22 Metro North Railroad Harlem line extending a distance of approximately 3,500 linear feet from the Wassaic train station into the hamlet of Wassaic. Whereas lighting was originally shown and generally detailed on the plans set for the project, but was not included in the approved construction due to budgetary constraints associated with the overall project. Whereas the town board of the town of Amenia desires to provide lighting on the Wassaic Trail to the train. Whereas the town board of the town of Amenia is requesting the town engineer to prepare a conceptual design cost estimate for the Wassaic Rail Trail Lighting Project. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as it fully set forth and adopted herein. That the town engineer is hereby authorized to prepare a conceptual design and cost estimate for the Wassaic Rail Trail Lighting Project in accordance with the proposal for professional services annexed here too. That the town engineer will perform all services on a time and material basis, accordance with the previously approved Town of Amenia 2022 fee schedule, an amount not to exceed $4,500. That the town board hereby authorize the town supervisor to execute any documentation necessary to effectuate the terms of this resolution. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
And I believe that's all the other matters we have. What would we use for reason for executive session, Ian?
I thought we weren't doing the executive session.
Well, we're doing one now.
I'm sorry, are we doing
for-
that before town board comments or after town board comments?
Well, we can do town board comments.
Yeah, I
if
just
there
have a
are any.
couple.
Okay, go ahead.
Not very much, but
Well,
I
Whatever you want to do.
Everybody-
I mean,
I'll
that's
try
what
not
town
to-
board comments are,
I'll try not to-
whatever you want to
I'll
comment.
I'll try not to go crazy, though. So I offered to Victoria that I would be happy to kind of help out with capital projects, because one of the things that concerned me is that there's a lot of projects on the table right now. The water district is not just the pump house, but drilling new wells and all these other pieces. And while we do have a price or an estimate for the pump house, we don't have any idea what the other things would cost. The highway garage, now there's someone who's putting together a sort of a program for that, so.
Feasibility study.
Feasibility study, so.
And you were going to work on that too, with the two of us?
Yeah, I just got it, and I
Okay.
will look at that. But in any event, it just seems to me it would be really helpful in terms of planning and budgeting if we had an idea about, since there's so many projects simultaneously, what the relative costs were of all of them, so we could kind of see that on one page. So one of the things, or the first piece of that, I guess, to that end, is I'm hoping that maybe we can make a resolution at the next meeting to ask John Andrews for a proposal to provide costs for the other parts of the water system. Because I think that without that information, it's going to be very hard to make an informed decision about how to get started with that project and how many phases it might be and that kind of stuff. So
Sounds
that's-
good.
Okay.
Just
Any
on-
other town board comments?
Yeah, I had got a couple of calls relating to Channel 22 and how, you've got these calls too, I see you're shaking your head, that people can't hear us. So I don't know how we're going to, whether that's internal, you would know, or if it's something we have to discuss with Channel 22 so people can hear what we're saying. So I just wanted to pass that on.
I don't know why people can't. Tonight I know why, because I made a mistake 2 weeks ago leaving these microphones, and I got 2 malfunctioning. So, but all this audio is extremely clean. I'm monitoring from outside at all levels, so.
Well, when you're speaking, you really need to make sure you're speaking into the microphone.
Yeah, and not wearing a mask.
And not back here.
Right.
Masks don't help,
Yeah.
sorry, but they just muffle.
Yeah.
The people aren't here. I'm monitoring. Both of these are coming in from the outside. I'm listening to it exactly the way they are.
Okay.
All right.
It's fine here.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we'll see if we get calls tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to have some now because of 2 microphones that turned up not functioning right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one missing button here, well, by the way, but
That's,
That's old.
that's nothing.
That's old.
I want to underline the importance of letting the town engineer know that there is an important deadline for getting the conceptual plan together and for the Wassaic Trail lighting, because we have help promised from Dee Dee Barrett's office for this project, but she can't help us if she's not in our district as of November. So we need to fast track this as best we can to make sure. I know that he said that at the end of January he would have time to work on this, but we need to get bid specs out. We need to get the amount that it's going to cost to put in lighting and get the permits and figure out what our financing of this project would be in order to get the kind of funding that she has in mind for us. But our deadline is November, and I know each one of these steps can take 2 or 3 months. So I think it's really imperative that we try and move that along, because she can't do her end of the work once she's out of our district, and her end of the work is also quite substantial.
Well, that's why you have the resolution tonight,
But I think
so I
with
can sign it and get it into him.
letting him know that, we need to let him know time is of the essence. The other thing is that Jill Winsby Fine is putting together a really nice program for, it's a free program for students, student artists in grades 7 through 12 for participation in the 2022 Troutbeck Symposium. And students will explore the early histories of the civil rights movement, the Harlem Renaissance, the NAACP, and influential Black Americans in our region by embarking on creative projects that explore and celebrate these stories. Projects will be displayed as part of the symposium on 4/27 and 4/29 through 4/29, April 27th through the 29th, at Troutbeck in Amenia, alongside student work from around the region. The group will meet on Saturdays on March 19th through April 23rd, 1 to 3 p.m. in the Wassaic Project's Art Nest at 37 Furnace Bank Road in the Old Mill in Wassaic. Participation is free, and materials, resources, and snacks will be provided. You can contact Jill, and that email address is jill@wassaicproject.org to participate. And she's accepting applications through the 28th of February. And I'll get a flyer for Channel 22 and hopefully get it on our website as soon as possible. She did send it out to Weebatuck as well.
Great.
That's all I have.
Are there any other town board comments? Ian, I believe we can use the same reason on the agenda for the executive session?
Proposed pending.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I make a motion that we go into executive session,
I'll second that.
and the town clerk is excused.
And the supervisor's going to take the minutes.
I will.
It's got to, so somebody knows it's 8:30. Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Rabillard?
Yes.
And the reason is discussions relating to proposed pending or current litigation. Here, Dawn?